Team Napo.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Hi.
Hi, what's up, everybody? It's a beautiful Thursday here in Sacktown. Kings coming off of a win last night. Man, I said it on the post-game show. Watching that game last night was the personification of nausea. Like, if you could make basketball into what nausea is, when your stomach is up and down, that's what last night was. It was one of the more bizarre basketball games that I have seen in the last probably at least 5 years, when you saw a team come out in the Kings and they're firing on all cylinders offensively, with the exception, and I'm not going to call them turnovers, I'm going to call them giveaways. That's what they were. They were giveaways. They were unforced errors by the Kings. And you see this Phoenix team that's just scrapping the offensive boards. Man, how many did they have in the first half? 14? And I get they were putting up a lot of threes, and that's a little bit difficult to guard it sometimes, but whoa. And then you get the halftime score, and you're like, holy crap, are the Kings going to lose this game? Is it possible? No, it's not possible. They're going to come out, have that big third quarter, and they come out in the third quarter and go, make sure I'm looking at the right one, turnover, and then Phoenix gets 2 and then an and 1. Man, that was a weird one. But ultimately, the Kings hang on to it. We've got a lot to talk about. And I think that we may be onto something with this offense and the three-point shooting. Yesterday, I shared a stat with all of you about the Kings and their three-point shooting this season. When the ball moves for 6+ seconds, 6 seconds or more, the Kings had been shooting 41.7% from beyond the arc. 41.7. That is a good number compared to their season shooting mark, which today is 31.8 from beyond three-point land. And we saw the ball move last night. And you saw the ball move with DeMar DeRozan on the floor. Now, granted, that's another thing that we're going to cover. DeMar did not play the second half because of a back issue, back tightness. He's going to get some loving on it. He's going to get some rehab, some treatment. Hopefully, he will be good to go Friday. We've got audio from after the game last night as well that we're going to go over. MVP of the press last night. Like, if I had to give out the press member of the game, my guy, Matt George, ABC 10, Locked On Kings. Had I been in that room during the game, he asked the exact 2 questions that I wanted to ask. So, Matt, good job. Check out his content. He does a really good job as well. Welcome in. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you are up to. And also, do you guys remember? Of course you remember. Why am I asking, do you remember? Do you remember those hideous gold uniforms? We may have another situation on our hands here in Sacramento when we're talking about uniforms. Something might have now reared its head that could rival the gold uniforms. And technically, it's not really the uniform per se. It's a part of the uniform, but then, yeah, it gets a little out of control after that. We're going to go over it. I've got photos for you. You've probably already seen them. So, John checking in. Strong finish was great to see from the Kings last night. Yes, it was. It's really good. Mike Budenholzer pulls his starters last night right about think it was a 5:30 mark. I wrote it down as 5:23, 5:28 is when they pulled him. The Kings, I thought they were going to go on that slow stretch to end the third quarter, and they did exactly the opposite. They went 10 from 12 from the field to end the third quarter. That pretty much put the game out of reach. You've got some really good efforts from some guys that really an unsung hero early on in this season is Kevin Herter. Kevin Herter has been so good this year for the most part. His three ball has been pretty damn good, but more impressive than his three ball has been his defense. Kevin has been so active. Keegan talked about it last night. We'll listen to that as well. A lot of other stuff going on today. You got NFL football tonight, another divisional matchup on a Thursday night. Don't know how I feel about that. Actually, you know what? Hate is too strong of a word. I don't want to say hate. I strongly dislike Thursday night divisional matchups. You got Washington and Philadelphia. Two teams that are trying to fight it out for that division. 7-3 is Washington, 7-2 is Philadelphia. I believe Philadelphia has won 5 in a row on the back of Jalen Hurts. So good one there. And I got to say, for as bad of a place as the internet can be, sometimes, just sometimes, the internet gets it right. In this football season, these AI videos of the quarterbacks or the coaches, they get voiced over with the coaches talking crap. I mean, like really talking junk and smack. They are hilarious. The Russell Wilson one. And yeah, I know Russ is a little bit different. I was on the Russ train. I loved Russell Wilson for the first 4-5 years of his career. And then he married Ciara. And dude just went weird on all of us. Like really, really weird. But the video that was made on the internet, I can't play it here. I wish I could. You can go find it on your own. The video that was played or that I saw, so funny. It's so good. There's a Kyle Shanahan one that's really good. You guys know what I'm talking about. I am sure you have seen him. So get up in here. I want to hear from you today. The chat's starting to get going. We're brought to you, as always, by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check out all 3 of their locations in the greater Sacramento area. By the way, last night, post-game show, we mixed in some Thanksgiving talk. The reason that came up was because Bennett's is going to be open on Thanksgiving. So if you are the type that does not like to cook and you want to go have a nice dinner at a great restaurant on Thanksgiving, make it Bennett's. And also, if you don't want to cook and stay home, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com and start putting your pre-orders in for family-style hot meals that you can pick up right there at the restaurant on Thanksgiving. Bring them home, and all the work is done. You get to enjoy the spoils. What I'm saying, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. We'll talk more about them here in a little bit, but huge thanks to them for sponsoring the show today. All right, which way should we go? There's a lot of different things that we could do on this Thursday. Loving a good Thursday. Only show today on the platform. So get in now. We're going to be going until 2:30. You can call the show using the QR code on the screen or the link in the chat. We had some good calls last night. If you didn't check out the post-game show yet from last night, we went into a little bit of a tangent towards the end of the show. And it wasn't like a tangent where we're not talking Kings, but you got some stories from Napes that really hit home. They go deep to all of you hardcore Sacramento Kings fans. There was a couple things in the stories, and I had heard most of them, but there was a couple things in the stories that I had not heard. Grant talked about that last night the night that we thought the team was going to be gone. It was the last game of the Sacramento Kings here in Sacramento. He went into depth about that entire situation. And it was very, what's the right word? Hell, get you a little bit emotional, takes you back to that spot. I mean, it's easier to look at that stuff now and think about those memories because we still have this team here in Sacramento. But man, it was polarizing. That's the right word, polarizing. So go check that out. Also, the pregame show last night, we had a really good discussion because Mike Brown did his pregame press conference and he really got pressed on the 3-point issue. He got pressed on making adjustments, things of that nature. And we, for the most part, tried to get down to the bottom of it is the best we could through 11 games, now 12 games. The Kings winning last night, 127-104. And we're going to talk more about that in a second because I think, and in the title of the show, you can see it. I think that there is one big thing that I am taking from last night's game. I mentioned it at the start of the post-game show, and it's not a definite. We don't know if that is part of the reason that the team has not been shooting the three right, because hell, there's no way we can know. We have all the analytics in the world, but you still can't pinpoint the exact reason. If you could, then you'd be making a lot of money advising every basketball team in the NBA that wanted to pay you. But the thing that had been sticking out to me the most that I talked about in the pregame and also what ended up happening during the game, I'll talk about it some more today because we heard from De'Aaron Fox on that subject. So anyways, get up in here. We've got a day off for the Kings tomorrow. The Minnesota Timberwolves roll into town. Losers of a couple to the Trailblazers. Not a team that I want to see after 2 losses. In fact, the first time the Kings saw them, it was after a loss. They had lost to LA to kick off the season. So, you know, Minnesota is going to be coming in hot tomorrow night. If you are going to the game, you better bring it. Tomorrow's going to be a fun atmosphere. De'Aaron talked about some of the subtle differences with the in-season tournament. If you don't know, I still call it the INT or the IST, but it is now the NBA Cup. Here is your groupings for the NBA Cup that affect your Kings right there for you. So the Kings' first game tomorrow night in Cup action is against the Timberwolves. Cup games are Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays and Fridays. And yes, the bright courts are back. You got to deal with those. Sacramento's isn't too bad. Not that bad compared to some of the other ones. I think Golden State's probably the best. I like Golden State the best, but those are hard to watch sometimes. The Philly court, where it's just straight blue, I have a really hard time paying attention on that one. I just can't do it. So, Suf side, Iraq, bench players showed up finally. Yes, they did. Now, part of that was because of attrition. You got to credit, you know, what Phoenix came into the game with. Second night of a back-to-back without Bradley Beal, without Kevin Durant, without Grayson Allen. You've got Nurkic, who's still coming back and playing with a bummed ankle. But at the end of the day, the Kings handled their business, and they did it the right way. Pre-game, we talked about pressure, and the Kings came out right from the damn start doing that. And I'm thinking during the first 6 minutes of the game, the way the offense was flowing, I'm like, this is going to be a 20, 30-point game. And I thought it was going to be a blowout anyways. But then the giveaways started. And I'm like, all right, this is going to stop. Mike Brown's not going to let this fly. And it continued all the way up through the half. It got a little bit better in the second half. Same thing with the offensive rebounding. But yes, you got, 24 between Jordan McLaughlin and Trey Lyles. It's a pretty good night for that bench. A very, very good night. And mostly because those guys were getting downhill. Mike Brown's going to tell you, De'Aaron Fox is going to tell you, we touch the paint, we're spraying the ball. Yes, that's part of it. But in order to touch the paint and spray the ball, you have to get downhill. You have to attack. And the Kings did that, which is exactly what you do to a tired team. AB, Kevin Huerter stepped up big time last night. Hope he can keep it up in Monk's absence. So Jerry Reynolds talked about this yesterday before the game. We had our weekly Kings roundtable. He thinks Kevin should be coming off the bench with Malik Monk out. What do you all think about that? I don't disagree. Kevin's playing great basketball right now. But I think that actually, now that I think about it with DeMar, that conversation's probably tabled for the moment if DeMar can't play. But with DeMar, a healthy DeMar, is that a viable possibility, a viable option to make your bench better? Let me know. Put it in the chat. Again, we're going to be listening to some audio. There are your Cup games also winning last night, by the way. They celebrated their first win, the Stockton Kings. Congratulations to them. We'll talk about their game in a little bit. Got some good performances there. The guy that I've told you to keep your eye on in that group, Terry Taylor, had a good game. Second game in a row. He has played pretty well. And again, I'm not looking for the guys in Stockton that are scoring 39 points a night and taking 27 shots, because if you come up to the Kings, you're not going to be taking 27 shots. You're not going to be asked to score 39 points a night. You're going to be asked to do the little things, the system things. That's what I am paying attention to in evaluating the talent down in Stockton and the two-way players. So we will get to that as well. Why don't we? I don't know if I want to start with this. Let's take a couple more comments and then I'll decide where we're going to start. It's a looming thing. I don't want to start on a well, it's not necessarily a bad note. Maybe some people like it. I find it a little creepy. I just do. But we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sure you know exactly what I am talking about. Finchy, yes, Herder played well. AB, yep, we hit that. Mark, what's up, dude? I saw you sent Damon Bruce a tweet about that big ass boombox. Good job by you. I love Damon. Damon is such a good dude. Hopefully we can hook up and do something as Kings and the Warriors start getting into their season series. Damon is so good. If you are a 49ers fan, make sure that you check out Damon Bruce and Larry Krueger. They have the Niners absolutely peppered in the Bay Area. And you can almost always find a show that they are doing. So good job by them. We will definitely be getting with Damon at some point. He's been on this show a few times now, getting with him as the NBA season goes on. AB, I like Trey Lyles getting a good amount of minute share. Super underrated. Yeah, certainly. That would be cool. Yeah, Damon's been on a couple of times. We actually, the day of the Kings Warriors playing game, we did a joint broadcast that went out to his feed, and then also it was a joint pregame show, actually, is what it was. That was a lot of fun. Went out to his audience, and then obviously went out to If You Don't Like That. So, all right, let's start here. Kings Suns last night. Not a ton to take from this one, except it's good to see the ball go through the hoop. Keegan Murray, the second half, to me, Keegan Murray changed the game on his own. The Kings made the adjustment of putting Keegan on Devin Booker, because Devin Booker, quite frankly, was the Suns' only hope in that second half. Although Okogie played really good, you could even talk about Washington, the G League player who just got called up, comes off the bench in the late third, early fourth quarter, scores his first 8 points of his career in succession. Come on. Great stuff for especially somebody like me that covers the G League. I love that. I don't care if it's the other team. It is a good thing when G League players are having success in the NBA, especially right off the bat. But long story short, Keegan Murray shut Devin Booker down. Frustrated Devin Booker, gave him a completely different look than Devin had seen all game. The Kings end up making 9 or 10 of their last 12 shots in the third quarter, which pushes the lead to 13. And from there, it was off to the races. Good job, too, by the end of the bench. Mike Brown pulled the starters at about 4:25, and the end of the bench kept the margin, which is a good thing to see. You want those guys to be ready, regardless if it's garbage time. It is time. So they've got to be ready. They've got to be able to contribute, hold a lead. You don't want, as a coach, to do wholesale substitutions and then have it fall off the edge of the cliff. That is not good for a coach's confidence, especially especially when you have a thin bench already. Here's Coach Brown's overall thoughts of last night. Oh, you know what? That is pregame. We are not going to give you the pregame. We've already talked about that at length. Let's go back to Coach Brown to start the game. Come on, producer. Get yourself ready, producer. Who is the producer of this show? Oh my gosh. Okay. We are going to go full screen with that. Sorry about that, y'all. All right. There we go. Here is Coach Brown, his overarching thoughts on last night's game.
Yeah, well, I'm saying we're getting the same looks as year one.
No, that's pre-game. Okay. My Mac screwed everything up. If you don't know, I'm operating like 3 computers at once right now. Don't know why my Mac did that. Let's see if we can get Coach Brown. There's De'Aaron. Sorry, y'all, for bearing with me. If you want to apply for a producer position with this show, you just hit me up on the X platform. Would love to talk to you. Here's De'Aaron Fox on last night's game first.
Just the emphasis on getting to the paint, I think. One was off the dribble, one was a catch and shoot, but other than that, pretty much trying to touch the paint. And I think whenever we're able to touch the paint and get open looks, I think we're a better shooting team. So pretty much just put an emphasis on that. Luke talked to me about it, and I'm just trying to be able to execute that, get teammates open looks, get to the free throw line, whatever it may be.
Okay, so that was in response to De'Aaron. Was it a targeted thing that you did last night, getting to the hoop and distributing and getting to the paint because of a matchup? Or is that a systematic thing? Is that something that can make this team's offense better? Here was what I said in the post-game show. And Corn Dog, my man, what happened last night? Usually you are so clean with the tech. You're going to hear a little bit of feedback because Corn Dog had his screen up, or the audio on his computer up too loud. But here was my take, and I'll give you the numbers afterwards. But there is one thing that I'm going to pull from this game, and it's too early to call it a trend, Grant, but it's something to watch. De'Aaron Fox only took 2 threes today, and he had 10 assists. He averages 6.5 threes per game usually, and he averages 4.7 assists. Is there something with the ball movement where the ball stops on him and he's taking too many threes? Because more touches got around to Keegan, to Trey Lyles, to other players. So is that a trend that continues that correlates with higher 3-point percentage going forward? So what De'Aaron had to say after the game, and the theme of the questions after the game were very much targeted in that direction. And De'Aaron's overall response is, yeah, that's what I need to do better. And it's true. Now, De'Aaron, if he's wide open and shooting a 3, no problem with it. Let it fly, especially if it is a catch and shoot 3. But, you know, I've been saying on this show for now a week and a half, there is energy with the basketball. And apparently Doug Christie says the same thing, which you'll hear in just a few minutes. So getting that ball moving, getting it going around the horn makes a big difference. Even if you're not shooting the shot, you feel more involved in the game. You're in rhythm. You are in the flow of the game. And for your Keegan Murrays, for your Trey Lyles, for your Kevin Huerters, and Kevin, by the way, he has been fabulous from the mid-range this season, getting to the hoop. He had some beautiful moves last night. But for the other guys who have been struggling shooting, they go 4, 5, 6 possessions sometimes without touching the leather, and that can affect your game. I've said the opposite side, and I acknowledge a lot of the rebuttals, but they're professionals, Rhino. You should be able to knock down a 3 at any time. Yes, I get that. But there's a difference, a big difference when you are playing synced up as a team and you already have the ISO portion of the offense locked down when it comes to DeMar DeRozan. We know he can do that at any point of any game, and he can command a double team most times, especially in the second half. Now, it's just a decision of how much teams do it. So when you've got that great element, and I've told you the Kings season numbers, I'll put them up. Actually, I don't have those numbers on my slides, but I'll remind you of this. Through last night, the Kings, they are number 1 in the league in made 2-pointers. They average 32.6 of them a game, which means they're also winning the paint battles. They are number 1 in the league in 2-point percentage. Number 1. They're shooting 59.8%. 59.8% from anywhere except beyond the 3-point line. That is fabulous. Now, 2-point attempts, they are 7th in the league. So the bigger conversation that the pregame show really was about is Coach Brown wants the ball sprayed out. You get in the paint, you spray the ball out. Jerry Reynolds disagrees. I mean, there is a place and time for sprays, but when you're shooting that high of a percentage, you can win the game in other ways. So where do you find that balance? And I think that balance is exactly there with De'Aaron Fox. The stats that I gave you last night, he had 2 3-point attempts, only 2. And the offense was fine without those 3-point attempts, yet he had 10 assists. Normally he averages 6.5 threes per game attempts. He averages 4.7 assists. I can almost bet you if we get a 5 to 10 game sample size, and I'm not expecting De'Aaron to have 10 assists every night, but if we get a 5 to 10 game sample size where De'Aaron Fox is shooting 4 or less 3-pointers, my bet is the 3-point percentage is going to go up. I just don't see it not going up for many different reasons. You get the defense in rotation, number 1. That is a huge plus of doing that. You don't have to shoot it on that first pass. And this team is so good at sharing the ball. That is what made them the best team per offensive rating in the NBA in 22-23. All right, let's see if we can get these sound drops right, because I want you to be able to hear from Coach Brown after the game. In fact, I am just going to get out of that screen altogether and just hit the library because I know where I'm at now. All right, here's Coach Brown after the game.
We played to what our identity is. We always talk about playing physical. Our guys did a heck of a job defensively of trying to be physical. We always talk about playing fast. 22 fast break points for the game. That was right up our alley. And then we talk about playing together. And we were on a string defensively, but just as importantly, offensively, I thought this was one of our best games of doing what we know how to do, which is to touch the paint and to spray it, or just to move the ball ahead, especially versus teams that are in a heavy shift. So our ability to do those things tonight played right into what our identity is, and it was good to get a win of this magnitude playing somewhat how we're capable of playing. But two things.
They did play exactly how they are capable of playing, but Coach Brown pushed back a little bit on adjustments in the pregame, and I felt like there were a decent amount of adjustments last night with the Kings. Coach Brown also talked about De'Aaron and getting to the paint. I believe this is the one.
Just a heck of a game by our guys in the second half of adjusting to the things we know.
Oh, that's the same one. That is weird. Here we go.
Just putting a body on somebody, and especially when they shot threes. In the first half, they shot a lot of threes, Tony, and when that ball went up from the three-point line, everybody turned and walked towards the basket, and the ball would hit the rim and bounce over our heads, and they were crashing. Josh Okogie had 5 offensive rebounds in the first half alone because we didn't take care of the long shots. Anytime you shoot a long shot, it's going to probably be a long rebound. So if somebody shoots a long shot, instead of turning and going to the glass, I got to turn and go find the body and go to the body, because when it hits the rim, it's going to bounce long, and now I'm there to get it. And we didn't do a good job of that, especially in the first half. Our guys did a better job of it in the second half, and that's what limited them the offensive rebounds of only getting 5 in the second.
So the Kings, by the way, the Kings gave up a massive amount of offensive rebounds, 19 for the game in all. Phoenix for the season coming into the game, 28th in the NBA, 28th in the NBA, averaging 8.5 per game. They get 19 last night, but again, it was a little bit more scattered for them. Coach Brown continues.
No, this is what we need from Fox. He's the fastest guy in the league. He's the best guard finisher in the league. But our spacing has to be right, and our spacing was pretty good tonight, Maddie. I mean, when it's there for him, he'll get downhill, and it's up to us to make sure that happens, and then it's up to him to make sure he stays aggressive, getting into that paint where he is deadly.
Mike, have you gotten to check in with DeMar?
Okay, so that was really important. Here's why this was really important. Because I said Matt George, MVP of last night's press corps. He asked the question, Coach, was this more designed? Is this the Fox that this Kings needs, or this Kings team needs for this offense to run correctly? Or was this more of a matchup decision to have Fox be more aggressive? So I didn't set that up properly. Listen to what Mike Brown says one more time. And remember what I said, what I proposed in the pregame or in the postgame show about if the correlation could be there. And it's too early to say, but it's definitely a correlation that all of you should be keeping your eyes on. And obviously the media is on this as well. Here was Coach Brown's answer if last night's Fox is the Fox that they need for this offense to run correct.
No, this is what we need from Fox. He's the fastest guy in the league. He's the best guard finisher in the league. But our spacing has to be right, and our spacing was pretty good tonight, Maddie. I mean, when it's there for him, he'll get downhill, and it's up to us to make sure that happens, and then it's up to him to make sure he stays aggressive, getting into that paint where he is deadly.
Mike, have you gotten to check in with DeMar?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge, and it's a completely different tune than what we talked about pregame. Because Coach Brown, pregame, same thing. Get the shots up. Get the shots up. Spray the ball. Get the shots up. And that was really what centered our discussion. It was like, well, you know, it just something's off, right? Something's just a little bit off. And so to hear that postgame, because Mike said he didn't want to make any systematic changes, which I completely agree with. However, adjustments are not changes. If adjustments were changes, they would be called changes. Adjustments are tweaks, and that is a tweak, and that is much needed. And that's what this team needs. Another thing they need, additionally to Fox getting downhill, and it wasn't just Fox. It was Kevin Huerter at times. It was Jordan McLaughlin. It was Keon Ellis. Those guys all finished really well around the rim, but take the finishes away and just look at the aggression of them getting towards the hoop and what it does for the spacing. Too many times we see those guys standing around or ending up with the ball and shooting the three. That is the missing piece for this team. That is the missing piece that gets Trey going, that gets Keegan going. It takes them out of those weird positions. So I'm very happy to hear that from Coach Brown. But still a lot that we can kind of look at and say, I mean, it's too early. Again, this is only one game, but it's the only game offensively for most of the game, I think is fair to say, that the Kings, and minus the giveaways, we got to take away the giveaways, minus the giveaways, that the Kings somewhat, not just percentage-wise shooting the three ball, but they just looked like the Kings. Just the eye test. If I played the first 12 minutes of that game for you and asked you, was that 2020 or was that 2022 or 2024? You would have to think about it if I blurred the numbers out on the guys and their faces. I guess, yeah, you caught me there. Anyways, so we've got more audio from the game. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. I don't want to bore you with too much of that because there is plenty more to cover. We're going until about 2:30, so get in if you would like to. Get in the chat. You can call the show as well. Happy to have you here on the Kings Court Live. Don't forget, we also do a morning shoot-around most mornings. So if you are not following me on the X, scan that QR code. That will take you to the X account that has all the links for Spotify, Apple, Amazon podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Follow the Kings Court because you get all of the Kings insider stuff, what I'm hearing from inside the building, my sources, a lot of Stockton Kings stuff as well outside of the live show. So I'd love for you to give it a try. I think you would really enjoy it, get a lot of good feedback on that show. I told you earlier today, and we should acknowledge, by the way, Wembanyama, 50 points last night. You kidding me? He is so just different. He is so different. That Spurs team, when they figure it out, they're not going to completely figure it out this year, but when they figure it out at times this year, watch the hell out. There were a lot of points scored in the NBA last night. And then Giannis, he puts up 59. What's the future of Giannis going to be? I think that is such an interesting conversation because it's a crossroads that every small market franchise comes to, usually. In a way, Golden State came to it with Klay Thompson. Now, Klay Thompson isn't Giannis. I get that. But if you look at what Klay Thompson has meant to the Golden State Warriors and what he contributed to their championships, you could argue maybe he's been more important than Giannis to his team. But you come to a point, 8, 9, 10 years, if you get them to stick around for a second contract of, do we keep going with this guy? And Kings fans, it's coming to that with De'Aaron Fox. Whether you realize it or not, it is going to come to that. Probably this is the year for De'Aaron Fox, where the Kings are going to have to make the internal decision. And that is the Kings. That's just one half of the equation. De'Aaron Fox doesn't have to re-sign with the Kings. He could say, I want to go somewhere else. So I am strictly only talking about the Kings' approach to this. They're going to have to make the decision. Is this the guy that we continue going with and we give a third contract to, or do we think that we need to tweak things a little bit? And Grant brings it up all the time. The best teams in the NBA are not afraid to tweak things that are running really well. Look at what Boston has done. It's a great example. They're a big market though. So New York tweaking things, big market, but more particularly for a small market team, it comes that time where have we gotten the most out of this guy? Do we think that he has peaked in what he can bring to the franchise, not just to the team, but to the franchise? And De'Aaron next year will be the last guaranteed year on his contract. So for all intents and purposes, that decision is going to be made by the end, or by this summer is when that decision is going to be made. If it's not, then the Kings are going to be in trouble, because then you run the risk of having De'Aaron Fox walk for free, or walk for definitely not the compensation that he would have garnered had you made the decision earlier. So anyways, don't want to make it about Fox, want to make it about the Bucks. What are they going to do with Giannis? Clearly that franchise they've won their championship, so they're ahead of the Kings. I don't see them winning a championship with this group. Quite frankly, the group's old. Chris Middleton, Dame Lillard, the second they got rid of Drew Holiday, that changed the formula for Milwaukee. But if you are a Kings fan, you are a diehard Kings fan, pay attention to how Milwaukee handles this situation with Giannis. Already a lot of talks about him possibly getting traded. I find that a very, very interesting test study on what's going to happen here in the next year or two. Trade Keegan for Giannis. I don't quite think that Keegan's going to get you a Giannis. It would have to be Keegan and much more. But hey, again, I don't think at this point, with how thin the Kings are on the bench, that anything is out of the realm of possibilities. I think Fox probably out of the realm, Sabonis out of the realm realistically, but you could see something happen with Fox. You absolutely could, because of the length of time left on his contract. It's the rest of this year, next year. So if the Kings get any hint that De'Aaron doesn't want to be here, and I am not suggesting that whatsoever, let's make that clear. Not suggesting that. But if that's what they're feeling, then yeah, I mean, maybe De'Aaron could be available. Now, that's an extreme case, but a guy like Keegan Murray, I could see it. If you needed to shore up the bench, and maybe not for a Giannis, but for other pieces that they think long-term would make the team better, it's possible, especially if you're looking at a balanced basketball team. Look at the Golden State Warriors right now. This might be, I said it yesterday, the most balanced team they've ever had around Steph Curry. And I am including the championship teams, because I'm not talking about the best. I'm talking about the most balanced. They have guys that play their roles perfectly. They've got a deep bench, and Steph Curry is freaking thriving in it so far this year. But yeah, Keegan, with the time left on his contract, you've got Kings already picked up the option last year or earlier this year. So you've got this year and next year for Keegan. So really the crossroads of Keegan's value on the trade market is right now. He is at the crossroads where you're seeing the potential still going up, and you still have him for a year and a half under contract. So the further we get away from today, the less likely I think any movement on Keegan will be coming. Flores, Kings should definitely not let go of Fox for free if it comes to that. Exactly. That's all I'm saying. It's all I'm saying, because it needs to be on our radars. We talked about it. I put it out there in June from the people that I talked to that were very close to the situation with Fox, that he was not going to be re-signing this year because of two reasons. The Supermax, which makes all the sense. And then the second reason was he wanted to see how this team was going to develop. De'Aaron wants to win. He wants to win a championship. That matters. So I know that popped up again because The Athletic talked directly to De'Aaron on the record about a month ago. But it's been floating out there, and it's not a bad thing. If I was De'Aaron, I'd bet on myself too. What's wrong with that? Why would you lock yourself into something if you don't know about its long-term future and you think you might be able to make more money doing the same job in that same place? Makes all the sense in the world. Let's see how Devin Carter is too. It's a big piece. It's a big piece. You know, if the Kings, if this thing comes off the rails and they go on a bad stretch, we've already talked about their schedule. The Kings are through the easiest part of their schedule this season. The easiest part of this thing is done. It's only going to get harder. So if it does not work, and there's going to be some pushback on Monty McNair for taking Devin Carter, and it's not, fair to Devin Carter, because we don't know how this kid's going to do. He hasn't had an opportunity to step on the court in an NBA game. It's just the bigger question of, was there somebody in the draft? And again, hindsight's 50, but was there somebody in the draft that could have helped this team immediately? And a couple of those guys the Kings were looking at, a couple of those guys the Kings worked out, and a couple of those guys played a different position than Devin Carter. In fact, you could argue the guard position was probably the one we didn't need another guy at. So if this team doesn't work, because this is a right now team, this is not, hey, you know, we've got a 5-year window, we're looking long term. This is a right now team. DeMar DeRozan is not getting any younger. De'Aaron Fox is only under contract for this year and next year. Same thing with Keegan Murray. So you've got to do something right now. So if you did a move and Devin's not able to play this season, and that factors in to this team's success or lack of success, there's going to be some pressure there. There's going to be some questions to Monty McNair about that draft pick. Any update on DeRozan? He's going to get treatment up until tomorrow night, and they're going to see how it feels. He's going to be likely a game time decision. So getting treatment, I think I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I think that it was probably more of a precautionary move than anything else. I don't think he was, like, oh, something happened. I think because how the game was going, I think the Kings felt like everybody was in rhythm, flowing and playing well together. It was better to be cautious with DeMar, especially with the minutes that he has been logging along with the other starters. Those that don't know, 4 of your starters are in the top 12 in minutes played in the NBA. So, but game time decision nonetheless. Hopefully he's okay. What's up, Ryan? How you doing, my man? I'll give you the first acknowledge me, because you got a good first name. I like it. Finchy, Murray is the Kings' most consistent defender, 100%. Keegan was the defensive player of the game last night. We talked about him earlier in the show. He changed the second half, 100% changed the second half for the Kings with what he did with sorry, I was reading that. What he did with Devin Booker. So completely changed that game. Justin, Wemby had his get right game versus Sec. You know, he might have. The 3-pointers again, I saw somebody put it in the chat that he hit 8 of them. I think he was right around 50% too last night. All right, so let's get to the elephant in the room. And I mean the elephant in the room. I didn't put a picture of these things up because I don't want to this is right around lunchtime. I don't want to ruin anybody's appetites, but we all remember those horrendous puke gold jerseys. And you know the worst part about those jerseys? Those jerseys were like this shiny kind of satin color. They came out like at the time where velour and all that stuff was cool and all the girls were wearing the jumpsuits and the juicy pants and all that, and satin was back in, silk was back in. What's up, Silk, bro? I just said Silk. My brother Silk up in Huntington Beach. But anyways, those gold jerseys, you know what I'm talking about. Kevin Martin's team, Mike Bibby's team, horrendous. The worst jerseys in my lifetime that the Sacramento Kings have ever worn. Well, as all of us continue to wait for a Sacramento Kings Christmas jersey, we'll have to wait at least another year for that. The Kings continue to release new uniforms. They have released their new City Edition uniform. And if you look at the uniform without it on one of the guys, you're kind of like, I can't say you. This is my thought. I was like, do I like it? Do I not like it? Here it is. Here is the new City Edition uniform for the Kings this year, as modeled by Mr. Defense himself, Keegan Murray. What do you think? Talk to me, Kings fans. You've got the block letters of the Kings. You got the classic Royals colors. I'm okay with that. Although I just wish they would bring back the 2002 jerseys, 2001, 2002. If you just brought that jersey back in purple and silver, oh my gosh, it would set a record for Kings uniform sales. That was the best of all time, in my opinion. Such a clean jersey. Nonetheless, here is your City Edition uniform. So not so bad. It doesn't scream gold, right? Doesn't to me yet, but let's take a closer look. What the hell is that? Is that Mr. Met? Like, what is that? Worst of all, my first thought is it reminds me of like a clown face. I don't know why. You put a wig on that face and it's a clown, and I'm running the other direction. So you've got that face with a crown on it. And now I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's Grant. No, I don't think that's Grant, Bane. Bane, let's go to the judges. Let's see what the judges say. Is that Grant on the shorts?
Challenge.
Coach McCarthy.
Hey, man.
No, it got challenged. Challenge overturned, Bane. That is not Grant. I mean, seriously, what is that? It looks like that dude, that mascot dude in the Austin Powers movie for like a burger restaurant that's like got the tray holding it up and then it shoots off to space. I don't know what that is. Is it a baseball? Who was the wrestler? It was the Brooklyn Brawler. But what was his gimmick where he painted his face like a baseball? That's what I immediately think of. That mixed with Doink the freaking clown. That's what's coming to my head. Now I'm really skeptical of these jerseys. I'm like, I don't think I want the Kings wearing those jerseys. I don't feel like there's good energy coming from that face, right? And now I'm thinking, do I even want my son watching the Kings when that face is on the shorts? Am I being a responsible parent if I let him watch that thing? And then the Kings release this. Yes. In all its glory. You couldn't just give Slamson one of the jerseys and strapped it on Slamson? Has anybody ever seen Huggy Wuggy? Has anybody ever seen Huggy Wuggy? That thing is giving me Huggy Wuggy vibes. Do you think you want your kids taking pictures with that thing? That does not look like something that pumps up the crowd. That looks like something that jumps out at you from a dark corner. Are the Kings trolling us? Is that going to be the mascot when the Kings wear these uniforms? And if so, and if we have tickets to that game, can we get our tickets refunded? Because we don't want to be in the same building as that thing. I mean, I'm not going to zoom in any closer on it because I'm afraid it's going to jump out at me. There's a better look at the front of the jersey too with the Kings. And Sacramento Kings, anybody from the Kings, you know I love all of you and I respect you. But I've got to do my job and I've got to call it as I see it. That thing is freaky. And what is that on its head? Is that supposed to be a crown? Or is that the jaws of a great white shark? Help me out. So everybody, I ask you, what is your take on this thing? What do we call this thing? Is this thing here to stay? Have the Sacramento Kings ever heard of AI? Is this thing related to this thing? Sacramento Kings, never, ever, ever did I think this season that anything that the Kings released would be anywhere near the category of that. of Mr. Colleen Wade. I don't know what that is. And if you do know what that is, let us know. But now the Kings have firmly injected themselves into the conversation. What's next? Are we going to get a statue of that thing outside of the G1C? If so, is it going to be made to look even scarier? Were these jerseys made for a Halloween night game? I don't see it. I mean, in the shoes, what's up with the shoes? They look like they are straight from the mall kiosk that sells the slippers that are way oversized and puffy. Give me your takes. Do you like the jerseys? Do you like the mascot? Are you going to buy the jerseys? I mean, the face looks like a catcher's mitt with two eyeballs. Help me out here. In fact, Baki, Todora, help me. What are we looking at right now?
It's a mascot, but I know it's not Huggy Wuggy. I'm a child kid, and I know really well that's not. And for my comment, I'm definitely not gonna take a picture with that.
No. Like,
It looks scary.
I mean, Todora, I gotta say, I kind of beg to differ with you because one of the things that terrifies me, and not much terrifies me, Huggy Wuggy is one of them. My son actually thinks Huggy Wuggy is cute. Let me pull up an image really quick of Huggy Wuggy for everybody to reference.
Cute.
And I am sorry, I cannot help but think that this is Huggy freaking Wuggy in King's gear.
It's not.
Even the colors to a
say-
T, Todora. Todora, look at that thing.
That is that God. How does he think that's cute?
Okay,
That's-
okay.
I don't know.
So, Todora, are you making my point for me? Is ugly now cute? Is that what it is now these days?
No.
She was running away wherever she saw it. Wherever she saw
That was
Huggy
before.
Wuggy.
Now I was like, dumbass, what is this?
Yeah. That's craziest shit ever.
It's pretty creepy. I'm not gonna lie. And how do you go from that to the
For
actual
that, I don't have
mascot?
any idea. That face looks creepy, but I don't have any comment. I don't know what to say.
Like, do you think the players are gonna anonymously complain about being
I
scared
don't
for their
know.
safety when they wear these jerseys?
They will wear that.
Look, all I know is the teams usually have a certain amount of games that they have to wear the city uniforms for. So you're probably going to see this jersey. My guess is you will maybe see this jersey tomorrow night. And that's why it came
Yeah,
out.
but if that comes alive, who's gonna buy the shirt like that? Nobody.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty bad.
If you ask players, they don't care. They're not gonna notice it anyway.
Anyways,
God.
But if you put real Huggy Wuggy on the shirts, that will be okay. That will be very interesting, maybe. But this is
Huggy Wuggy on.
Huggy Wuggy on the King's shirt.
I can't believe what are you saying.
I kind
I
of think
can't believe.
I kind of think you're just better off putting the uniform on Huggy Wuggy.
Oh God.
Don't you think?
Oh God. I don't know. I for years don't think about that thing. And I was like, when I God, why this? Not this. Why?
Man, Rhino, he was all over the place. Here in Greece, in Romania, in all the countries in Europe.
Huggy
I mean,
Wuggy.
2 years ago, Wuggy all the way, all the
Yes,
way,
where I go.
everywhere, wherever you go.
To how can I say this? To
Where?
Как сказать центр?
The city.
The center of the
To
city.
the downtown. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see kids are wearing toys. Huggy Wuggy. I was like, my God, what is this? A pink Huggy Wuggy in blue. What is this? Then I go to Greece. I go to
Oh
shop.
my goodness.
What is again this toy? Wherever I go, Huggy Wuggy is he? I don't know. He's my curse.
He's her curse.
Well, I'm sorry he is your curse, Tedora. This is our
But
new
he stopped.
apparent curse here in Sacramento.
We are
So
Huggy Wuggy is back. He is back like Michael Myers.
No, he
Oh
had
my
one
goodness.
mask, but because he started to wear it, I don't know, on every 5 minutes, I didn't.
You put it away.
Yeah, but not
So-
in
so-
trash can. Not in trash can.
So Tedora, I had both of my hips replaced last year in 2023, and I had just had my second hip replacement. I was maybe, I don't know, 4 weeks out from my hip replacement, and it was it was about a month before Halloween, and my son's best friend who lives across the street, my wife, they all went over there to hang out. And my wife called me and she's like, "Hey, we forgot something. Can you walk it over?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of a big ask because, I'm still learning how to walk, but it'd be good for me, right?" I walk over whatever they asked for. And when they opened the door, my son's friend was in a full Huggy Wuggy costume. And I almost jumped and dislocated my hip. Like right after surgery. That's how bad it scared me. So, anyways, give us a holy moly really quick before we
Of
let you
course.
go.
Holy moly, Jim Baboli.
Love it. Thanks
I
for
didn't know
calling
I'm
in, you
doing this
two.
with my fans. I'm just boring.
That's okay. It's fun. Love seeing you guys here. Be well, all right?
Yeah.
Baki and Tedora all the way from Serbia. All right, give me your thoughts. I'm not seeing a lot of them. John thinks it's Bane. That's not very nice, John. Does Bane like that? Oh, I guess he does. All right, it is Bane. LOL. The guy who designed it was the same as the Wade statue. Same thought there, Bane. Good job by you. Slumping artists are the in thing these days. Guess so. Flores likes the colors. That's all I can say. Yeah, he's like those creepy Easter bunny photos with kids. I don't disagree, Bane. Like, are the Kings trolling us? They're not going to roll that mascot out there. They're not actually going to do that. I know it's not April, but they're not going to roll that mascot out there. You can't do it. Arvin, this is just all around bad. Flores says I'm hella cute then. Don't put yourself down, dude. Holy moly. Well, I can promise you one thing for sure. This is a promise. If you go check out Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland, the West Side Grill is their newest location, the third in the greater Sacramento area. I can promise you that mascot will not be in the house. I know Brian Bennett will not allow that mascot in that restaurant or any of them. But in all seriousness, do me a favor, check out Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You will not be disappointed. They have prime cuts of seafood and steak. If you're not in the mood for an entree like that, they have fabulous sandwiches, salads. I love the steak Cobb salads. Their daily fresh made soups, incredible too. The mushroom soup, off the damn charts. Also, they've got awesome specials that are affordable for just about everybody. Their happy hour, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. There's sips and tastes. They have 60 different wines by the glass. On the weekends, they serve weekend brunch. They've got a special deal where you get 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne for under $47. It's pretty darn good, right? And also prime rib on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. There's a bunch more specials like Monday wine and dime. I could go on for days. What you need to do, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, check them all out. Also, you can put in your to-go orders now directly there on Bennett'sRestaurants.com. And they are starting to take pre-orders. That's right, for holiday meals for Thanksgiving. That's right. You get all the great food. They do all the work, hot and ready for you to pick up. If you feel like going in for dinner as opposed to cooking, they will be open for you as well. Make your reservations at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Huge thanks to Brian and Margot and the entire team at Bennett's for sponsoring the King's Court today. And make sure, if you go and give them a try, that you tell them that you heard about them here on the King's Court. All right, I know we're all kind of trying to settle down coming off of what we just saw. Maybe the second worst thing that's ever been on the screen in the history of this show. Just maybe, because the Wade statue, I still think, takes the cake. But you can bet we are going to get some pushback. Is that starts to hit the national airwaves, Sacramento's going to take some. I can tell you I am probably going to take some nationally on the Jim Rome show because of that mascot. So, yeah, be ready for it. And hey, if you're going to the game tomorrow night in Minnesota, watch the hell out because that thing might be there. In fact, if I was the Kings, why don't you put that thing into the starting lineup if DeMar DeRozan isn't able to play? Nobody's going to want to guard that. Nobody. Maybe slide the trampoline on the court when he runs up court. Boy, oh boy. I did not think the Kings were going to be a part of something like that this season. I never thought something would top the gold jerseys. And at least with the gold jerseys, it was just the uniforms. They didn't come with a mascot. And who knows? Who knows? Look at the picture on the shorts. The picture on the shorts was confusing. It's like, what is that? Then you see the picture of the mascot, and it doesn't look anything like the picture on the shorts. So maybe the mascot you see at the arena is going to be even different from that. I don't know. Anything's possible. What do you think Slamson's thinking right now? There's no way Slamson's going to want to put that thing on. None. Slamson is inking out his resignation as we speak. There's no chance that thing's going on. Anyways, you had both sets of Kings in action last night. Stockton picked up their first victory of the season, 116-112 over Salt Lake City to go to 1-1 on the season. Look, this team continues to be anchored by Skal Labissiere. He has been incredible for them the last 2 years, and I'm not talking about production. He is the consummate professional. He was in training camp with the Kings. It's a name you recognize. He was on the Kings for a few years early in his career, started his career here in Sacramento, but he is the vet down in Stockton, and Gabriel Harris has done an excellent job. You're at your new GM of the Stockton Kings of making sure you have that presence amongst these young guys. And it is so important as they start off their NBA journeys. Skal last night, 10 for 14 from the field, pours in 23 points for the Stockton Kings. Again, production off the charts. The guy that I talked about earlier in the show, Terry Taylor, gives you 21 last night. But I'm looking at the little things. I'm looking at the things that he would need to do to get on the floor or possibly help this Sacramento team. He had 10 rebounds. He had 4 assists. And also, he had 0 turnovers. So keep your eyes on Terry Taylor. I know he is not currently a two-way player. Keep your eyes on Terry Taylor. Drew Timme had a good game, 14 points. Boogie Ellis gave you 15. Boogie continues to grow his game. Now, Boogie is nowhere near ready for the NBA, but I am also excited to see what he's going to be able to do here in Sacktown in the future as he continues to get more and more opportunities in Stockton. John Elmore poured in 7 assists. That is notable. He is a guard who is actually pretty shifty. You wouldn't think that if you saw his picture online, but go look up some video of his game. He is very, very polished. Isaiah Crawford only gives you 5. And then you also had your other 2 ways with the Kings. So yeah, good game for Stockton. Congrats on their first win of the season. I'll talk about it more on the Kings Court shoot around. So make sure that you are subscribed to that. Let's go to our dude, Dirk. Love talking hoops with Dirk. What's up, Dirk?
What's up, Ryan? I
you
feel
doing,
like
buddy?
you and I were just discussing passing the ball might lead to better 3-point shooting.
You know, I felt like we had a conversation around those terms.
And wouldn't you know it, man, yesterday was exactly how I love to see Fox play. I think that's just prime Fox, the guy who penetrates and then makes decisions. You know, the team overall, I swear, against the Phoenix Suns, they're their own worst enemy. I don't know about you, but it feels like anytime we play Phoenix, no matter if they're full health or not, over the last couple of years, Kings seem in control of their destiny. Like yesterday, it's like we're our own worst enemy with the turnovers. Like that was maddening. But that's not to say they didn't play well offensively. I mean, and defensively. I think Kevin Huerter had a heck of a game yesterday, especially in that first half with his defense. He's on a different level this year with his ability to cause stuff in the passing lanes and just cause havoc. What were your thoughts on his performance?
I thought his performance was fabulous last night, Dirk. He was Keegan was the defensive player of the game. He was the defensive player of the game, the last win. Kevin has found a way to turn into an excellent help defender. Keegan Murray talked about it last night, actually, in the post game. Let me play that for us really quick. Here's Keegan Murray on Kevin and his play and what it's meant to the team.
I think the biggest thing for him is off the ball, he's been really active with his hands and things like that in the passing lanes. On the weak side, he's been really good. And that, I feel like, has kind of translated to him having better offense and just kind of uplifting him in a way. So he's been really big, I think, in that aspect the last couple of games, and it's been really noticeable.
You know, his body changed a little bit, Dirk, after the injury. Obviously, working your shoulders out is going to do that. And I'm not going to put a ton of weight into that, but it seems like it's given him a little bit more confidence to get in there and mix it up a little bit more. And the deflections are way up for him. And I just love the way he's playing, even how he's attacking. Did I lose Dirk?
Yeah, and I mean, I just very impressed with him this year. One concern I have a little bit with Sabonis yesterday. It seemed like there was a lot of unforced turnovers for this team, but specifically with Sabonis's turnovers, it was like the same exact play and the same exact outcome. Great.
Are you talking about the 2 backdoor ones?
I believe so. I mean, it's all kind of blending together, but some of his mistakes were just, he needs to, whatever it takes to get out of that mindset where those keep happening. I heard some post game on him and mostly involving needing to review the tape. And it's like, well, in those moments, let's recognize that Nurk is giving you problems. You know, like, let's try something different. And props to the Kings. It didn't feel like we forced it to him too much. I think late in the either late in the third or early in the fourth, we went to him and it didn't work. And I think we abandoned that approach. So I got a prediction for you.
All right.
I think we sweep the Phoenix Suns this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna base this on the last 2 years' performance. We had that huge game, massive lead that we gave up in the fourth quarter. I
Right.
saw a couple of those games in person. It never feels, again, it feels like we're in control. So if this team is really going to take a step forward, it's not giving the games against the Phoenix Suns away in my eyes. So that's one prediction I'll make. We sweep them this year with or without Kevin Durant. Injuries, doesn't matter. We're in control of that team.
Interesting. That was going to be the second thing I was going to ask you, because the Kings have not seen Kevin Durant too much since he's been in Phoenix. But then again, the Kings have not played bad against him. Like, to your point, both times last season at the end of the year, they gave away games to Phoenix.
To me, I just feel I've seen enough of us against Devin Booker, and we can neutralize him to where he's not effective. I think there's a lot of injuries over these games. Like, Bradley Beal would be the X factor. The earlier this season, the first game, he was productive. It felt like they got a lot of whistles that first game, which kept them in it. A lot of interesting calls, but the Kings still came away with it. Now we've added DeMar DeRozan, so we have another clutch performer. Hopefully this back thing doesn't keep him out too long. But I've seen Kevin Durant blow us up, and I've seen enough of their other guys that the team is functionally the same. That Phoenix team is going to have injuries. They've added Tyus Jones as a point guard who helps them offensively, but clearly the Kings feel comfortable targeting him defensively,
right?
Constantly. So I am not worried about the Phoenix Suns. Records aside, I think that's a team that I feel comfortable matching up with in the playoff series if we could ever make that happen. But
yeah, I don't mind it either. I love it. Dirk, thanks for the call today, buddy. Good
have a
prediction.
good one.
Put it on the books. All right, bud. Love talking hoops with Dirk. He knows his hoops. There's your box from last night. Here's what your Kings have done all season. The turnovers are concerning for me with Domantas Sabonis, because the turnovers this year for him have been different, in my opinion, as we share this screen right here. And we look at what Domas has been doing. He's had less burn this season, meaning he's had the offense going through him a lot less of the time than he has in the past 2 years, especially last year. Now, the turnovers he was in the top 20 in turnovers last year, but again, the burn was so much higher than it's been this season. He's averaging 3.3 of them a game. And what bothers me is exactly what Dirk said, the type of turnovers. I've said it for a while, and I think it's been talked about. Domas and the coaching staff talked about it some in the preseason, that Domas is a great decision maker. He is just not always a quick decision maker. He usually makes the right play more times than not, and you've seen him hesitate less with his mid-range jump shot and hesitate less with his three-point shot. And you're still seeing a little bit of it here and there, but not nearly what it was last season. But for whatever reason this year, there's been some hesitation on some of the passes, and two of the turnovers last night for Domas were just not good plays. They were bad decisions, and that's not something that Domas usually does. I think part of it is a product of playing with some new guys. You've got DeMar out there, you've got Kevin back out there. So understanding how those guys like to cut, understanding tendencies and getting to know those things. I hope this number comes down, but if it continues to be where it's at or it goes up a little bit, it's definitely going to continue to be a part of the conversation, because we know that Domas is so much better. He can make him and maybe two other guys in the league can make passes that nobody else can. So to see turnovers like we saw last night with just bad decisions, backdoor cuts where they were late passes. So it was a late decision and a bad decision. That's the stuff that definitely needs to be worked on as we bring you back in here on the Kings Court. We're going to get ready to get out in just a few minutes. So if you want to get in on the action, would love to hear from you. We're going to go until about 2:30 and then call it a day. We'll be back tomorrow with a ton of programming. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We'd love to have you hit that subscribe button or that QR code. We will not show up and listen to you on your phones, nothing like that. You'll just know when we are doing a live show, and we don't just do game day stuff. You know, we do the pregame, halftime, postgame. We have shows throughout the week, a roundtable on Wednesdays with Jerry Reynolds, which I highly encourage you to go check out if you have not watched that. There was some high level basketball conversation in that show yesterday. We really got into the nitty gritty, the picky stuff on this team, the small things that make the big differences. And Dirk's right. We've talked about it all show. The De'Aaron Fox that you saw last night, I believe, and I shared my hypothesis last night, and they ended up talking about it post game. Here it is again. But there is one thing that I'm going to pull from this game, and it's too early to call it a trend, Grant, but it's something to watch. De'Aaron Fox only took 2 threes today, and he had 10 assists. He averages 6.5 threes per game usually, and he averages 4.7 assists. Is there something with the ball movement where the ball stops on him and he's taking too many threes? Because more touches got around to Keegan, to Trey Lyles, to other players. So is that a trend that continues that correlates with higher 3-point? And to take it a step further, if you look at and make sure you please subscribe if you haven't already. We would love to have you as part of the If You Don't Like That family. Give us a thumbs up or a retweet, whatever. Maybe it definitely helps the algorithm for us in the digital space. We would greatly appreciate it. But it's certainly, if you look back to last year, a big conversation point in the offseason was the amount of threes that De'Aaron Fox took last season. Now, granted, his percentage was up, but look at what happened to the Kings at the free throw line. Their free throw, I'm not going to say percentage was affected because that's not fair, but their free throw attempts were dramatically affected last year. Dramatically affected. I believe it was something to the tune of 19 or 20% less free throw attempts last season. And it speaks to how special the gift is that De'Aaron Fox has with his acceleration, his speed. There was a play last night for De'Aaron where he was too fast for his own self. Like literally too fast. He was going too fast that he blew the layup. He didn't realize he was moving that fast. The GMs have voted it many years in a row that he is the fastest player with the basketball. So that is what you have got to do. You have got to get by guys and open it up for your teammates. You get so much more from De'Aaron Fox driving and playing that aggressive brand of basketball. You get so much more from that comes with it. The free throw attempts for everybody or himself, getting the other team into the penalty, getting their players into foul trouble. All of that encapsulated into one thing, getting to the free throw line and then being able to set your defense on the back end. Part of the reason the Kings defense was so bad at the first half of last season was because they never got to set their defense. They were either missing shots or turning the ball over. They didn't score a ton. But getting to the free throw line, you get to set that defense now. So all of that encapsulated is worth more than the extra point you get from making the three. So it is the best version of Fox. So I am personally tracking that. I think everybody else should be tracking that because I think that is what holds the keys to opening up this Sacramento Kings offense and making it more like it was in 22-23, if not better, now that you have DeMar DeRozan on the floor. So glad to hear that everybody's kind of on the same page about that. And again, Coach talked about it last night. Again, I played it twice. Coach didn't say that it was an adjustment for the Suns game. Coach said that's what we need from De'Aaron Fox. That is what we need. That was a strong statement to me. Let's see. Thanks. Between the Wade face and new mascot, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Yeah, good job, Bane. Sorry, buddy. Jake, yes, he is better off going to the basket. Completely agree, y'all. Hey, it's been a fun show. Again, we will be here tomorrow. Tons of programming. Starting off tomorrow morning, you'll have a King's Court shoot around waiting for you on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Then 1 o'clock, we will be right back here on If You Don't Like That with the King's Court wrapping up the week, Royal Rumble Friday. If you have not been a part of Royal Rumble Friday, come check it out. They are a lot of fun. You all can come up on the screen together if you want to at any given time during the show. We also talk a little bit. Fridays are a little more relaxed around here. We talk a little football. We get some picks and some parlay advice from Haunted Horse relating to the NFL. And then Adam, our WWE correspondent, comes on and we talk WWE for about 15 minutes. It's always a fun segment. And certainly we'll be talking about the Kings and the Timberwolves. 4 o'clock tomorrow, Grant will be here doing a show with all of you, doing an open forum. And then 6:15, back with the pregame show. So we'll get you ready for the Kings and the Timberwolves. Then halftime. Don't forget about halftime. Jerry Reynolds with us at the intermission. And we wrap it up with the post-game show tomorrow night where we open up the phones to you. Again, it's going to be an NBA Cup game for the Kings. They'll be playing the T-Wolves. As you see, we'll keep you up to date on any news that comes out with DeMar DeRozan. That's why it's important to make sure you are following us on the X platform. You can find me right there using the QR code at Ryan_in_Sacktown. And we will get y'all ready for what is going to be a very interesting matchup. We'll go much more into depth tomorrow about the Timberwolves and what they do. Basically, it's this. They huck up a ton of threes. But Anthony Edwards has been shooting the three ball very well, not so much in Portland the last couple of nights. They are coming off of 2 losses to Portland, and you can bet they're going to be ready to go. It's the second time the Kings will be seeing Minnesota coming off of a loss this season. And the Kings this time without Malik Monk, possibly without DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar probably will be ready to go again. I have not talked to anybody near the team about this, but my guess, based off of how stuff has been managed in the past, things of this nature, my guess is it was more precautionary than a immediate reaction to an acute issue that happened with DeMar. But we will see as word comes out on that. The Kings practice today, so I'm sure audio will be out here in just a few minutes on that. Appreciate it, BJ. Good to see you say it, or good to see you checking in, buddy. Still need to get together, my friend. We've been talking about that. Jake, should be a good game. I hope so. The Kings need to bring the energy tomorrow night. What they brought to open the game tomorrow against Phoenix, they are going to have to bring sustained energy. And I don't expect it for 48 minutes, but you need to have more minutes with that energy than you have minutes without it tomorrow night. Period. End of story. Let's see. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Acknowledge you. It's been a fun show.
Acknowledge me.
BJ, anybody selling a single ticket? BJ, looking for a single. It's so hard to get a single ticket, BJ. I feel for you, brother. I completely feel for you. And by the way, we're going to be doing some fun stuff around here as well. We've talked about the watch party that we're going to do at some point at Bennett's this season. Do that again. That's always a lot of fun. If you've ever been to one of those with us, Grant and I do all the broadcasts from Bennett's that night. And then also we're going to be doing some giveaways this season for the Stockton Kings. That's right. So you are going to have opportunities throughout the season to go to Stockton and sit courtside with me. So pay attention to my X account. Make sure you are paying attention to the show. I appreciate every single one of you, all your support. I know a lot of people are like, who's this dude that's on Grant's channel? What's going on? But I really, really feel very lucky. It is a pleasure to have the opportunity to be in front of all of you. So thank you very much for your time, letting me into your ears, letting me into your car, your home, wherever it may be. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Huge thanks to Dirk for calling. Thanks for Baki and to Dora. Always hear or love hearing from them, even if we're talking about Huggy freaking Wuggy. Oh boy. And oh yeah. The mascot, it's still here. I don't know what to say. When I end this show, that thing's still floating around somewhere. So watch your backs, all right? Just kidding. I love you all. Make it a great rest of your day. Stay safe. It's raining out there. It was raining here a little bit ago. So be safe on the roadways. Tomorrow night's going to be a fun one. Kings T-Wolves, but we've got a ton of content before that for you here on If You Don't Like That, beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We are right back here for the Kings Court Live Royal Rumble Friday. Get up in here. Would love to hear from you. It'll be a 90-minute show. We'll be going 1 to 2:30. So looking forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, make it a great one. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. We are out of here. Court is dismissed.